learners. You are welcome to Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. I am your literature teacher, and today we'll be looking at other aspects of devices apart from figure or speech. We have an example of other techniques or devices apart from figures of speech. So it's not only through figure of speech that a writer can project his themes. There are other means. Poetry is just expressions of feelings and emotions, but yet a poet can borrow, styles from prose or drama. So we'll be looking at a poem by Gabriel Okara, Once Upon a Time. This is a poem for 2026 to 2030 syllabus. Writers have other literary elements that can be employed as devices or technique apart from figures of speech. So it's not only through figure of speech that a writer can actually project his theme. He can use so many at his disposal. What is really important is to have that good knowledge of your text or your poem. Once a student has good knowledge of his text and his poem, then you'll be able to identify so many of the devices that is employed by a writer. Introduction. A sample poem will be used to explore some other literary elements that serves as devices and technique. So in this poem, we'll be looking at others apart from figures of speech. Lesson title, African Poem, Once Upon a Time by Gabriel Okara. Subtitle, we have the question, explain 3 devices employed by Gabriel Okara in his poem, Once Upon a Time. And with this lesson, this is what we stand to achieve. Read the poem, learn new words, analyze the poem stanza by stanza, and list the demand of the question, then answer the question. We have new words from the poem. This will enable students to increase their vocabulary, and that is one of the things they stand to gain in studying poems and texts. Conform, to be compliant with something. Portrait, a pictorial representation of a person, especially his face. Good riddance, express relief that someone or something has gone. Muting, felt or experienced but not expressed. Then we have background of this poem. This poem will explore the difference between the simple life of Africans before the arrival of the colonialists and the modern time when the colonialists has already affected the African society. And so in here, the old way of Africans were represented by childhood, and the modern society, African society, is represented by adulthood. So we have innocence versus experience. Innocence versus experience. The analysis of the stanza by stanza is actually necessary so that we'll be able to fish out the devices employed by the poets. The stanzas express the deceits that characterize human relation in African society, in the modern African society. So the first stanza contrasts the old simple life of Africans to the modern one that has been affected by the advent of foreign culture. So once upon a time, they used to laugh with their hearts and with their eyes. So it actually represents an African old way of expressing their emotion. That then is always very sincere. The way they feel, that's the way they express. But now, the laughter is just show of teeth, showing insincerity. We have stanza 2. The contrast continues using handshake. The first stanza uses laughter that is not genuine now, but it used to be genuine. Then the second one, handshake. The handshake, now you shake without heart. Before, you shake with heart. That is a heartfelt connection with that person that you are relating with. Now, the handshake is now just a mere show because it has to be done that way. And it is now full of suspicion because it's saying, wife, that left hand search my empty pockets. So the handshake now goes with suspicion. So everybody now begin to suspect, even though they shake hands, smile, but yet there's fakeness about the whole thing. Stanza 3, it shows hospitality that has now become a burden. Then everybody, we have a communal life with Africans. That is the normal way of an African that has not been affected by modernity. But today, hospitality has become a burden, and nobody will like to have another person. That they now prefer a life of individualism. So hospitality has become a burden, good gesture and niceties that now become formalities. Yet, deep down, that person is not wanted. Stanza 4, the personal learn the pretense too, because he's now into the modern society. He has to learn it. He has to begin to have split personalities. He has to begin to, comply with the expectation of the society. So he learned the way of pretense of modern society and carries out a split personality which he uses according to the demand of any given situation. At any point in time, what we actually present, reflects that you are actually into that thing, but yet it's a fake. You put it on. In another situation, he has another fake personality putting up to people to see. So he learned the way of the modern society that is filled up with insincerity, hypocrisy, and ingenuineness. And stanza 5, he has successfully learned how to mask. So everybody has the dual personality. That is a form of wearing mask. The mask is not really physical, but ability to actually put up a show at any given point in time, and it will suit that situation. Then you are having a mask on. He learned to have a mask. At a point, he gets tired. I know he remembers the simple, sincere way of the olden time when he was very small. And so he actually wishes to go back to such kind of life. And so he has an example in that child that he's talking to. So a yearn to actually go back to that former simple African life where everything is truthful and genuine. He's tired of putting up an hypocritical attitude at all time, and he knows that he's not being truthful. The persona sees the replica of that genuine, simple life of the old in his son, who is still innocent. He has not been adulterated. So you can see the difference between innocence and experience. As the child grows too, he will be affected by the society. And through experience, he will learn to begin to, live a double life. that he has learnt in the society. Now, we now have typical question. Explain 3 devices employed by Gabriel Okara in the poem Once Upon a Time. Okay. Here, I don't have it there. He has borrowed a device from a fiction, that is prose, by telling a story. Poem naturally expresses emotions and idea, but here he actually is telling a story, and so we have that he has borrowed from folk tale in order to present a story. Once upon a time, that is a marker of starting a story. He borrowed it from folk tale. That is one device. Then we have characters. We have 2 characters here. The old man and his son. The man talking to the child, wanting to know, wanting to learn, to relearn. He wants to relearn. He wants to unlearn, to relearn. And he has to sit under his child to learn that way that he had lived before. So we have characters. Characters we normally have in drama and prose. So he has borrowed 2. Then you have monologue. You have a voice talking to somebody. That is dramatic. That is another style. Then we have contrast. The prominent device here is contrast. Actually comparing the old simple life of Africans to the modern one, using childhood and adulthood, thereby having difference between innocence and experience. Then we have other ones. We have metaphor there. We have, I have learned to wear many faces, like dresses. So home face, office face, street face, host face, cocktail face. These are split personalities that he put up as the situation arises. So we have beautiful metaphor here. So we can pick, a student can pick out of all, but the prominent one here is contrast, differentiating between 2 lifestyle, contrast. And so in answering question that says that explain 3 devices employed by Gabriel Okara in the poem Once Upon an Elephant, then we have, you start as usual, start with the statement on the central theme. The central theme, we always summarize the message of a writer. A writer will always have a message, and he will have a central theme, a subject matter, under which other themes will be drawn. So, having a statement on the central theme will have done a good job of summarizing what the book is all about, or the poem. State all the devices discernible in the poem by saying that the theme actually is projected by quite a lot of devices used by the poets, and you mention some of them. Okay, it's even there. You mention some of them: dramatic monologue, narrative method borrowed from prose, narrative point of view. We have, first of all, first person narrative point of view. Then we have third person. The third person starts because somebody is talking about, the third person is talking before he now refer to himself by saying I. So we have 2 narrative point of view in here, and that is borrowed from prose. Then we have contrasts, the modern and the old African society being compared. We have simile, we have talked about them, African storytelling. Student can pick 3 from those devices and begin to answer using these rules. have learned one thing or the other, and I hope you have enjoyed yourself. For comments or questions, you can contact us on our social media handle displayed on the screen. Thank you.
Acing your WAEC and NECO examinations has been made easy by the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education with the Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO Candidates television program. Join seasoned teachers as they take you through these core subjects, targeting the exact syllabus of WAEC and NECO. Watch Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates through these social media platforms to access more educational content and give their feedback. Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. Pass your examinations with flying colors.